Hi guys, Faith again. Sorry, my dog is barking at another dog out the window. Everybody come here, Jackie. This is Jack. Okay, Jack. Okay, Jack. Okay, so for this video, I actually this time made a list of everything that I want to talk about. Because I tend to get off topic and it lasts forever. So, the first thing that I wanted to talk about was the application process, Jack. So, the application process is super fun and it's so stressful that you're not going to be able to focus on anything else the entire time. But it's a great experience. My application process went by relatively quickly. I applied and then had my phone interview, I think, 3 days after I applied. And then at 11:15 in the morning, and then 3 weeks later on the dot, no, 2 weeks later on the dot, like the 14th day of the second week, I called Disney and I was like, I didn't get an email, I don't know what's going on, and she emailed me, or I was talking to her on the phone, and she was like, oh, well, we sent an email out, you should have gotten it, and I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't get it, can you just tell me? And she was like, no, I'm sorry, let me just resend it real quick. And she sent it, and while I was on the phone with her, I checked my email, and she said, congratulations, you've been accepted, and I screamed on the phone and dropped my phone, and the lady who I was talking to, she's like, congratulations, I'm so happy for you, I was hoping that you would see that, and you made my day, and I was like, no ma'am, you made my day, you know. It's a huge thing. Don't take it for granted. I was so happy, and I did the paper chain, to count down the paper chain days. I started at 100 and went all the way down. That's really cool. Whenever I did my program, they had stopped sending out the purple folders, and they were just sending out the postcards. So that was a bit sad, but I did make my own folder, and it was nowhere near as good as the one you would have gotten from Disney, but it was good enough for me as my first program, and I loved it. The second thing I want to talk about is check-in. Check-in is super fun if you do it right, and you come prepared. Check-in is also super long and exhausting and crazy. The night before check-in, I highly recommend getting with your roommates and going meeting at downtown Disney or meeting somewhere else and just spending some quality time with them, getting to know them before you actually move in with them. It's a great experience. I did it with my roommates, and I would not have had it any other way. But the day of check-in, I think check-in starts at 8:30 or 9, and I flew down there with my college rep. So she was doing one of her last programs, and I was doing my very first, so I got to stay with her and a couple of her family friends, and we stayed in Winter Park, Florida, and we got to check-in, actually, at, I think, like 7:30 or 8, which is super late if you've done any research at all about check-in. They tell, everyone else is usually there by like 3 or 4 in the morning, to make sure they get the apartment they want, they can get their check-in as fast as possible, and just get everything done. Your roommates can go in before you. You do not have to be with your roommates to check in. Just make sure that you know what apartment they said that they were in. And I think that's all you really need to know about that. And I want to leave something up to the magic, so casting, you go to casting right after you do check-in. Casting is probably the most stressful, long, exhausting part of the entire check-in process. You go to the casting building, which is amazing. I'm not going to tell you anything about it because I want you to experience it and have all the magic hit you all at once. But basically you walk around in a big circle for about 3 hours, going through different stations, how you want your paycheck, getting your ID, drug testing, checking your vision, stuff like that. All of that will happen during casting, And then once you're done with casting, you're done for the day, and you can go to your apartment and freak out because your new apartment is so amazing, and it's everything you've ever wanted. And it's just, that day is the most memorable of your entire experience, because that's the day that it sinks in for a lot of people. Holy cow, I work at Walt Disney World. Another thing I want to talk about was my job. I was main entrance operations in Magic Kingdom, obviously in Orlando. It was great, you know. Part of main entrance operations is you get to do a lot of turnstile, you know, you welcome guests into the park. You also get to do a lot of PAC, which is Parade Audience Control. Whenever I saw that, I was like, oh no, I thought that was like the dreaded stroller role, and I was like, oh no. And it was not. Parade Audience Control is exactly what it says. You control the audience during the parade. You know, you make sure they don't run out in front of the parade floats or anything like that. I loved my job. It was super fun. I got a lot of guest interaction. Would I want that job if I went back? If it was the only way I could go back is if I had that job, yes, but I would like to try something new, just because I can. So that would be a good experience to try something new. Wishes. Wishes is a parade that they do at Magic Kingdom that I seriously so highly recommend that you go with your roommates and watch the first night that you're there. It is a truly magical experience. So many people I know cried, and it's emotional, because that's when it sets in, you know, I'm going to be here anywhere from 4 months to a year, and, you know, I work for the happiest place on earth. So just go and see Wishes, soak it all in, get into the Disney magic spirit, and just love every second of it. The parks. No. Bucket list. Okay, so, the thing my roommates and I did is we made a bucket list. The first night whenever we got back from Wishes, we made a bucket list of things we wanted to do as roommates, while we were there. Make it a list of like maybe 10 to 20 things, because to be honest, you're not going to get a whole lot of time to spend with your roommates, because you'll be working, they'll be working, you guys will have different schedules. It'll be very rare that you get to have the same schedule as one of your roommates. I only got to complete 3 or 4 of the things that I did on the bucket list with my roommates while I was there. You know, simple things like go see Wishes together, go to all the parks together, go eat around the world together, go eat the kitchen sink together, just stuff like that. Resort hop, pool hop, stuff, not pool hop, sorry. Just stuff like that you can do together that is a bonding time, and it's great. Roommate time. I highly recommend the first 2 or 3 days that you're going to be in the program. They're not really working yet, because they've got traditions and stuff like that, so you're not really going to have a work schedule, so you're going to have some time to spend with your roommates. And don't make the mistake I did and let your roommates go to the parks without you because you're tired or whatever. Spend as much time with them as possible. Go to all the parks. Go do everything they want to do, because that is probably the only time you're going to get to spend with all of your roommates together. Truly make the most of any roommate time you get. Now the parks. Whenever you get done with, I think you get your main entrance park pass 2 or 3 weeks into your program. You can get into the parks the second you get your Disney ID, which is, I think, the day of Traditions. And I'm not going to tell you anything about Traditions, because that has to be the most magical experience, and I'm going to leave it up to you and just experience it all at one time. But take advantage of it. You know, if you don't live in Florida, you, odds are, probably don't ever get to really go to Disney World all the time. And when you do, you have to pay a lot of money. So you get in for free, and you can get 8 people in for free. So go and take advantage of that. Get into all the parks. Get into all the resorts. Go to the Contemporary and eat, and then ride the monorail to the Magic Kingdom. Do everything that you can. Take advantage of every bit of cool stuff that you get from doing this program. Disney Magic. Disney Magic is unlike anything else you'll ever experience in your life. It touches you on a whole nother level. It's completely personal. It's just everything that Disney is, everything that you remember watching a Disney movie for the first time as a child. That's exactly what it's like walking into Magic Kingdom for the first time, knowing that you work there and you get to help let other people feel that amazing happiness and joy that you felt. You will get to create so much magic, and it's truly unlike anything else you'll ever do in your life. And last, I want to talk a little bit about my Disney college experience, which was sadly cut short. And I'll explain everything as I get more into the story. So my story starts with, I was going to college. I was in the middle, I think, of my first semester, and I heard about the Disney College program, and oh my lands, the second I saw the poster on the bulletin board outside of one of my classes, I just saw the Mickey ears, and I was like, I have to go look at that poster now. So I went over and looked at the poster, and I was like, no way. Disney has a college program? And so I ran back to my dorm. I didn't even go to work. I called in, and I was like, hey, I've got a lot of schoolwork. I worked at my college, so I was like, I got a lot of schoolwork I got to do. I'm not going to be able to come in. Blah, blah, blah. Totally lied. Well, I did have schoolwork I had to do, but not so much that I needed to miss work for it. But I got online, and I looked up the Disney College program, and to my luck, the applications were dropping 2 days from the very first time I'd ever seen it. So the applications were dropping in 2 days, and I was like, okay, this is a godsend. I have to do this. I have to try. And so I tried. I called the activities office at my school to try to figure out who the college rep was, the campus rep for the Disney College program, and nobody knew who she was. So I just kind of went on without her, and 2 days later comes, and I set the reminder on my phone, and as soon as the applications dropped, I stayed home. I did not go to school. I stayed with my computer in front of my face so that I could keep refreshing the page until the applications dropped, and they finally dropped, and I'm pretty sure I was like the first person to fill out the application. Got it all filled out and everything, and I'm so excited. I'm like, okay, what's next? And then not even like, I want to say 2 minutes later, I got the email. It's like, congratulations, we'd like to offer you a web-based interview. And so I did the web-based interview, and then I think 10 minutes later, they're like, congratulations, we'd like to offer you a phone interview. And I'm like, oh, a phone interview? Okay, let's do this. And so I set my phone interview up, and my phone interview was set up for 3 days after I filled out the application. So super excited about that and super nervous. And I had a speech coming up in my speech class. So I wrote my speech over the Disney College program. And my professor, it was so weird. My professor was like, do you know who the college campus rep is for the Disney College program? I was like, no, I cannot find anything about her. I know this is she, and I know that we have one, but I don't know who she is or where I can find her. And he was like, oh, she's my class assistant teacher for the next class. Just stay. And I was like, oh, no. So I stayed, and I got to talk with her, and Chelsea, her name is Chelsea. She was amazing. I mean, she had experienced just about everything you can experience in the Disney College program. I think she had done it twice before. And, I pretty much idolized her for the next, 3 months because, she had all this experience and knew what she was talking about and knew what I needed to do to get ready for, what to pack, what not to pack, what to say, what not to say, and all this other stuff. And she was just there for me. I'm texting her all the time, hey, have you gotten any emails? Because she actually was graduating the next semester, so she was going to do her very last Disney College program at the same time that I was going to do mine. So, we were texting each other, have you heard anything back? Have you heard anything back? Going and getting coffee. Have you heard anything back? And it was really I think she applied a day or two after I did. And so I had my phone interview. I woke up because whenever I know that something super exciting is happening the next day, I have a really hard time going to sleep. And so I forced myself to go to sleep at about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I tried to sleep in as late as I could, because if I just sit around and kind of wait for 11:15 to come around, I'm going to go crazy. So I slept until, I think, 10:45. I tried to sleep as long as I could, and I woke up at 10:45, and they actually called me early. They called me at 11 instead of 11:15, and I was totally surprised and totally unprepared, because I was going to have Chelsea come into my dorm room and sit in there with me while I had my interview. And I didn't get to have her come in there because they called early. And so they called, and my interviewer, his name was Will. He was the greatest, funniest guy, and my interview went really, really well. It lasted about 22 minutes. He was really funny and really nice, and he said that we had a lot in common, and I sounded like a great candidate, and that I should hear back very, very soon. So, of course, to me, very, very soon meant you should hear in like 5 minutes whether or not you got accepted. And so that's how I lived my life for the next 2 weeks, checking my email like probably every other minute, refreshing my email, just be like, they probably emailed me, gotta refresh it. And I got all the way to the 14th day of the second week, and I called them up and I was like, you know what, I've waited 2 weeks and you said 2 weeks. Where's my email? I can't log into my on the where you apply your dashboard, and I couldn't log in. It wouldn't let me log in. Kept telling me to change my password, changed my password like 6 times, and it didn't let me log in. So I was freaking out. I was like, they rejected me. They locked me out of the page. Oh my goodness, what is my life? And so I called them, and she was like, oh, we sent you an email, and you know, I'll resend it if you didn't get it. I was like, well, I did not get it. Can you please just tell me? And she was like, no, I'm sorry, I can't tell you over the phone, so I'm just going to resend this email real quick. You should get it within, like, 30 seconds to a minute. So she sent it, and I got it, I think, 2 minutes later while I was still on the phone with her trying to figure out why my dashboard wouldn't let me log in. And my phone dinged because I had an email, and so I was like, oh, no. And I totally slipped my mind that she said she was going to send that email again. And so I get there, I was like, I like started screaming and dropped my phone, and she was laughing because I had her on speakerphone. She was laughing, and I was screaming in my dorm room and just freaking out because they said the only thing that I saw was congratulations. And oh my goodness, that was just, it was the most magical thing. And then I went and read, it's like, congratulations, we are pleased to offer you the job of main entrance operations at Walt Disney World for the Disney College program. And I just about passed out. I was still on the phone with her, and she was like, oh, I'm so happy for you. I was like, no, I'm happy too. And she was like, you've made my day. I've not experienced this kind of Disney magic before. I've never got to hear an applicant get accepted before. And I was like, oh my goodness, no, you made my day. Are you kidding? And she was like, well, I hope you have a magical day. I was like, there's no way that this day could get any better. She was like, well, have a great day. I was like, you too. And so we hung up, and I didn't even care about my dashboard. I wound up figuring it out. But that part right there was just, it was so amazing, and I can't imagine it any other way. But my college rep, I called her the very first thing. I didn't even call my parents yet. Called her, and I was like trying to play it down, and I was like, yeah, so I got the email today, and I'm accepted. And she kind of freaked out, and I swear I could hear her from like across campus. And she comes running to my dorm, and like our campus was pretty big, and she lived on the opposite side of it, and so she got to me in like 5 minutes. So you know, she was like seriously Usain Bolt running to my dorm room. And I felt really bad because I was like, oh no, you haven't gotten your email yet. I'm so sorry. It'll come, and I'm sure you got accepted. You did the program before, you're a college rep. They're not going to deny you. And sure enough, 3 days later, she gets her email. She's going back to Disney, and so we start coordinating, what do we want our check-in days to be, how are we going to get there, are you bringing a car, what do we need to bring, blah, 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 blah. We coordinated, got it all together, and we had chosen the June 4th arrival date, which you would go on June 4th and then leave January 2nd. It was for Fall Advantage 2012. And actually, the night she bought her plane ticket, she called me. She was like, "Oh my goodness, Faith, you have to get your plane ticket right now. They have no more seat. There's only one more seat available on this flight, and it's for $130. You're not going to get any cheaper than this. You have to get it now so we can fly down together." So I whipped out all the money I've got, and I got on there, and I got my plane ticket just in time. And we flew down June 1st, and we stayed in Winter Park with some of her mom's old schoolmates, which was an amazing experience. We were there for 3 days before we actually started our program so we could get accustomed to the Florida weather, the Florida heat, the Florida humidity, everything like that. I love Florida to death. I've been trying my hardest to get myself back to Florida since I left. I'm definitely a Florida baby. I love everything about it. So we get to the 3rd, the day before check-in, and so we go and meet all of our roommates at Downtown Disney for dinner, and then just kind of hang out and really officially meet each other. We had done the video chats online and stuff, and texting, of course, and Facebook, but it's not the same as actually meeting the person face-to-face. So seriously, yes, I really recommend doing that at Downtown Disney before check-in. And we stayed in Winter Park that night. All my other roommates stayed in the Sunspree Hotel, which is right across the street from Vista, which is where check-in is. And so they stayed there, and we traveled back 30 minutes back to Winter Park. And I was talking to my roommates, when do you guys want to be here tomorrow morning? And we got all that set up, and I failed to mention to Chelsea that, we wanted to be there at 3 o'clock in the morning, and she apparently had other plans because we didn't actually get there until 7:30 or 8 o'clock. My roommates had already gone through check-in, gone to casting, and were waiting at the apartment. And so we got there, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, my roommate's already gone. I'm not going to be able to have them as roommates. Oh no." And she was like, "No, you can go through check-in without your roommates. Just make sure you know what apartment they got so you can tell them, hey, this is the apartment that I'm going to be in. Here's the apartment number, Patterson Court, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 12103. Get that done. Go through all of casting and check-in. Oh my goodness, that is the longest process of anything I've ever had to do in my life. It's so stressful and so just exhausting that you don't feel like you can ever do anything ever again after that on that day, and you just kind of want to go back to your apartment and just eat and fall asleep and just sleep for the next 3 days. But don't. Get out and go to Downtown Disney with all your roommates. Go meet all the other college programmers, We actually had our housing meeting, I think, that day. So as soon as we got all together, we had our housing meeting at 5 o'clock, and then went to our housing meeting, which was at the Commons, which was amazing. I was always so jealous of the ICPs because, they got a washer and dryer in their apartment, and, it was just awesome. And now they've actually opened up the Commons for everybody to live in. You don't have to be an ICP to live there anymore. It's the most expensive because it does have the washer and dryer in the bathroom, or in the apartment. I'm not really sure exactly how much it is, but you can look it up online, I'm sure. We had our housing meeting, and then we went back to our apartment, and we went and got food, and then we passed out hard, and we all slept until like 8 or 9 the next morning, Some of us had traditions, some of us didn't have anything. I did not have traditions for 2 days. I had 2 days off after the check-in process, and then I went to traditions on that Friday. We checked in on a Monday or Tuesday, and I did not have traditions until Friday. And so I had all this free time. I couldn't go into the parks because I didn't have my ID or anything. So I just kind of hung out around my apartment and went and visited the other apartment complexes and rode the Disney buses and everything. Then I went to traditions, and I'm not going to tell you anything at all about traditions because that is a truly magical experience, and I want you to experience it, the whole thing, at one time and just be blown away by it. Went to traditions, got my name tag, my casting ID, and you get your apartment ID during check-in, just so you know. So be prepared for that. Come looking pretty. Don't overdo it because they'll make you wash your makeup off, but look good. So now I had my name tag, my casting, or my Walt Disney World cast member ID, and my apartment ID. And so I could officially get into the parks for free. Yay! After traditions, you know, of course, every single person goes straight to the parks. Any park you want to go to, you can go. And I went to Magic Kingdom because I knew that was where I was going to be working. And I just kind of walked around, explored a little bit. And then I went back to my apartment and kind of rested up because I knew I had to work the next day. And the next day was actually, I was so sad, the welcome party, and I had to work my very first day of training, which was amazing. I had, I think, 3 days of training, it was super easy. I had a great trainer. Her name was Katrina, and her helper Josh. I love Josh. He was amazing. It was super easy, and it's not hard to do, and they explain everything very well. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. So we did all of that, and I think I got trained on that, and then I worked as a park greeter for a week, and then I had my training in PAC, which is Parade Audience Control. It's exactly what it says. Control the audience during the parade. And my trainer for that was Chris, and he was so much fun. He was so cool. I mean, we got to go down to the floats, and we got to walk around inside the floats and stuff and see what it's like down there. It was amazing. Super easy, super fun, no big deal. Did it, no problem. I think it was my 3rd or 4th week of work where I was pretty much, I knew everything and blah, blah, blah. And we were greeting guests through our turnstile, and I noticed a kid who looked really, really pale, and I was like, ooh, something's wrong. And I walked to the other side of the turnstile to kind of talk to his mom, and he just goes limp, you know, and before he could fall over, I kind of grabbed him, I caught him, and I was like, oh my goodness, you know, what's going on? And so my initial instinct reaction was get him inside and get him into the, get him away from the other guests so that they don't see it. Apparently that was wrong. So we got him through, and we got him through the turnstile and took him into the cast. Just a second. Ooh. There we go. We took him into the break room and laid him on the table, and I didn't know what to do. You know, you're trained during your training, you know, how to do alpha calls, what you need to do, where all the AEDs are, and everything like that. And of course, whenever you get in an actual experience like that, you go blank. You don't remember anything. And I just remember one of my trainers telling me, go get the AED and make the alpha call. So I ran. Okay, you're not allowed to run. So I walked very briskly, and you're not supposed to attract guest attention, which is really hard to do because whenever you open up the AED case and take the AED out, this huge loud siren goes off until you shut the door. So I slammed the door. I'm walking real fast back to the break room, and I was just like, oh, it's just a practice run, just a practice run. And everyone was like, oh, okay, thank goodness. And, you know, I got back in there, and someone had already made the alpha call. They had already called the paramedics. the medics, and thank God they didn't need to use the AED. He had a heat stroke because he was walking around without a shirt on and hadn't drank enough water. So that was great, and I got a GAC card, guest appreciation card, for assisting in an Alpha Ren. That was extremely traumatic for me, because that was like the worst thing that could ever happen, because my family always says I'm the only one that can keep my head in something as crazy as this, and I was able to keep my head, and it was just, I hope I never have to go through it again. But then, I think 3 or 4 days later, we had a guest come in who was a veteran, and for those of you that don't know, my entire family basically was in the military, so I'm extremely patriotic, and veterans have a special place in my heart. We had a veteran come in who was being treated very disrespectfully by fellow cast members, and I was not having it, and so I walked up to the guest, and I was like, would you like me to get my supervisor? You know, I'm very sorry that you were treated poorly. Anything that I can do to help you? Is there anything I can say? Anything I can help you find, or anything? And he was like, no, just go get me your supervisor. Thank you very much. I went and got my supervisor, and, you know, he went off to the side and talked with this guest and got everything situated, and the guest came back up to me. He was like, ma'am, I really appreciate that you saw what was going on and stood up for me. It means a lot being a veteran. You know, not a whole lot of people think that veterans need to be stood up for, but we do. And I almost started crying. And I was like, thank you so much, sir, for your service, and I hope you have an extremely magical day. And my supervisor that had talked to him came up to me and gave me another guest appreciation card, because that guest was so pleased with me and how I responded to the situation. And then I want to say 2 or 3 weeks later, I was working the exits at Magic Kingdom, which is saying, bye everybody, I hope you guys come back real soon, hope you had a magical day. Watch the fans with your balloons, they haven't eaten all day. And one of the guests came through, and for those of you that don't know, I was a cheerleader in high school for 3 years, and so cartwheels are super easy, nothing to them, I can do them in my sleep. And so one of the guests, actually, she asked me, she was like, oh my goodness, will you do a cartwheel with me for this picture? This is the first and only time I'll ever be able to come to Disney World. You know, my family really can't afford this, and we won this on a sweepstakes. And I was like, oh, absolutely. And I knew it was outside of my duties to do that. And I did it. And while I was cheering, I had fractured my collarbone. And during this cartwheel, I refractured my collarbone and was injured on the job, and did not report it, like a very stupid person, and just kind of went on for 2 days, just kind of holding my arm up. You know, it really hurt. And finally my supervisor, my area manager, asked me, you know, what's wrong, and I told her, and she was like, well, you need to go to the Disney doctor, and you've not lived until you've been to a Disney doctor. And I went there, and they told me that there was a hairline fracture on a previous fracture. Just a whole big old mess. And because it was outside of my duties, I did get a reprimand for it. So that was very sad, and I missed 2 days of work, and they gave me medicine for it and a sling. So that was awful. And then 2 weeks later, my mom called me and informed me that she had gotten a mammogram, and the results came back, and it showed that she had a very aggressive stage 3 breast cancer, and that it was extremely far along in the process, and it was not good. So I called out. I had 3 days I called out before I actually left, because I had called the airport, I bought my plane ticket, and then they called and said that there was something wrong with the reservation, and that my time that I would actually get to use that plane ticket wasn't until 3 days later. And so I had already I thought that I just called out that day because I knew I was going to need another day or so to get everything packed and get everything returned to Disney that belonged to Disney. And so I called out for 3 days. And those of you that don't know, whenever you call out, you get a point, and you get 3 points as a reprimand. You get 4 reprimands, you get terminated. So I already had 1 reprimand from the cartwheel, and so 3 more points, that's another reprimand, so I had 2 reprimands by the time I actually called Disney, and I informed them, I told them, I just found out my mom has breast cancer, and I really need to go home and be with them. Is there any way that I could get, like, a leave of absence or anything like that? And they told me because it was so early in my program that it would just be self-terming, which is something I really didn't want to have to do. And I regret it every day. I know I needed to be home with my mom, and I would not have had it any other way. But I do wish I could have stayed, and I can't wait until this next round. I got to finish a semester of college, and then I'm hopefully heading back to do the Disney College program again. It was extremely sad leaving. I was really close with my roommates. It was very, very sad. It's weird how close you get with them in such a short amount of time. It was sad leaving Florida. I felt like I was home and I was leaving so soon. I had hoped to stay forever, I got home and went through this whole chemo and radiation process with my mom, and she is cancer-free right now, so that's amazing. I can't believe it. I'm so happy that God had just healed her of the cancer, and I can't wait to go back. That's my Disney College experience. You make so many friends, and everyone you work with, it amazes you how close you get with them so fast. And it just so happened to work out that 2 of my best friends from work, Carl and Matt. Carl lived right in the apartment next to me, and Matt lived in the apartment right diagonal from me, and so it really worked out, getting wake-up calls and getting rides to and from work. It was amazing, and I would not change it for the world. I made some of the best friends, I think, that the planet Earth has to offer, and I love them all dearly. I still talk to some of them to this day, a year and a half later. You truly do make friends for life during this program, and I'm sure it'll be even better whenever I can go and actually stay for the 6 months, and hopefully will get the opportunity to extend and then go full-time or part-time and live in Florida forever and ever and ever. Amen. So that's basically it. That is all 10 of my vlog topics. I hope this was helpful, and it's, oh my goodness, almost 40 minutes long. So that was my Disney College experience and everything else, and I hope that this was helpful to you. And any other questions that you have, any other questions, comments, or concerns, please comment below. I would love to hear from you. Anything, even just to share your story, that'd be fantastic. The applications drop soon. I turned 20 in, I think, 4 days. So, woohoo! January 4th, I turned 20. So I'll be celebrating that very soon. Applications drop sometime in February, so if you're going to do that, congratulations and good luck. And if you're doing the program right now, I'm so madly jealous of you, and I hope you're making the very most of it. And also, congratulations. And I hope that everyone who is watching this has an extremely magical day.